Hi, in this video we're going to take a look at the Bootstrap site, which you can find at getbootstrap.com. So if we take a look at the Bootstrap site, we immediately see a download button, but we're going to delve into some of the documentation briefly. So there is a lot of documentation for Bootstrap, and as you can see they even have their own CDN at MaxCDN, including the Bootstrap CSS files and JavaScript. And you can see the directory structure of the precompiled Bootstrap and the Bootstrap source code. There are also other ways you can actually implement Bootstrap, but we'll just be looking at the most simplest one, which would be downloading and including it into our HTML files. So we can have a look over here at many of the other links throughout the page. If we have a look at the CSS section, we can see the basics that we will need to implement Bootstrap, the HTML5 markup, the viewport or meta tag, and how we can also set the user scalable to no. We also see that we have the option for fixed width containers and full width containers. So there's a fluid with the page layout. We'll be using the container-fluid class, and we'll also be putting a maximum width on that fluid container, as to not fill 100% of the page all the time. So then we can see they've got a grid system which we'll be working with. We'll be using the medium grid system, so we'll be using the MD class, so col-MD- whatever number. They use a group of 12 columns making a row. So for col-MD-3 will make 12 columns. That would make 100%. And so on and so forth. Different examples of their grid layout. Got such things as buttons, different kinds of buttons. If you're not familiar with Bootstrap at all, they come with some really nice buttons and different styles for the different states. Different sizes and block level buttons. So now let's head on over to the components section. Scroll the way up. Quite a lot of documentation, but very, very helpful. The component section will show us the available glyphs. So these are glyph icons, and we use them inside something like a span element with a class of glyph icon, space glyph icon, hyphen, and whatever the icon name is. So as you can see, these are the classes that we would use to render these icons. Well, it's important to note that these are actually fonts, so we can color them very easily. They're not icons anymore. If you're used to Bootstrap in previous versions, they were actually sprite sheets of a black set of icons and a white set of icons. But now they use fonts, so you can see how that can be more effective, and we can actually color or add styling more effectively to each icon, or each glyph in this case. So we also have things as drop downs. That's pretty cool. That's already in effect. And we can keep scrolling down, and something very important about Bootstrap is that it provides a lot of different navs and different types of navigation. So we got tabs. This one we have pills. We can have disabled links, disabled there. And the navbar is one of the most well-known components of the Bootstrap framework. So we've got a little drop-down menu, got a little form, and that is a navbar that could be at the top of the page. Another important part is the jumbotrons. They look very nice and a quick and effective call to action. Got our text and a little button, and so on and so forth. We also have progress bars and alerts, which are pretty cool. Come with this little cross, click on it and it disappears. Very nice. We won't be using all of these components, but this is just an overview so you can see what Bootstrap has to offer for you. Scroll all the way up the top, and we can look at JavaScript and have a look at the different scripts that we could use. We'll be making use of the tooltip script. So what you can do is you can actually either use all of the Bootstrap scripts in one minified file, or you can include them individually. It'd be more performance driven if you were to include them individually, if you weren't going to be using every script, but we'll be using it in a development sense. We'll only be using the tooltip script, but we'll be including it all in the Bootstrap minified JavaScript file. We also have things as carousels, which is actually relatively nice. Very nice looking, easy to implement. We can see our code down here to implement a carousel. And there's also a preview theme that we can activate and disable. You can see a slight change in the buttons down there. It's a bit more of a 3D effect with a gradient. And so that's about it for the basic overview of the Bootstrap framework. In the next video, we'll start to implement our HTML5 markup and get started with Bootstrap.